Namaste. I am Nikhil Morsawala, founding partner Indusgenie Advisors, and it gives me great pleasure to present before you the post-COVID business strategy. Our team at Indusgenie has been for the last 1 month been reading and analyzing a lot of research reports that have been published from all over the world. And based on our findings, we have put together certain set of guiding principles that we believe will be useful to all businessmen to navigate a very uncertain future that is going to develop post-pandemic. It is going to be an unknown path, an untrodden path, and it will take all our acumen, all our intelligence, all our jugaad to get through this phase. However, we thought we could compile a list of do's and don'ts that will help everybody, all businessmen, to negotiate the future, especially our friends in the micro, small, medium enterprises who will need maximum guidance at this point of time. I am telling you, we are here for you. You need us, reach out to us. Don't worry about the commercials. Though we are not an NGO, we will be very, very happy to help within your limited resources. Don't worry about that part. It is this time of our lives that we should all pool our wisdom, our intelligence, our resources, our knowledge to help humanity to come out of this crisis. And the economic crisis is going to be much bigger than the health crisis. So let us all get together and work our way forward. This is our contribution to try and help. Please see this presentation. I hope you like it. I hope you find it useful. Our email IDs are given. Reach out to us. And I will come back again at the end of the presentation. Thank you. Welcome. To create a business strategy in order to tackle the post-COVID phase, we must first understand the characteristics of the post-COVID socio-economic scenario. Based on our study of various reports emerging from across the world, we believe that the post-COVID socio-economic scenario will be as follows. Social distancing norms will have to be followed at the workplace, whether it is the factory or the office. This will necessitate the implementation of new standard operating procedures, and we believe that these new SOPs will be highly disruptive in nature. There will be more emphasis on work from home. Work from home will be one of the new normals. Economies all over the world will be hit by recessionary trends, and demand forecasts have predicted downward trends never before seen in living memory. This is likely to lead to a spike in unemployment, and there will be severe socio-economic challenges that governments across the world will have to tackle. However, by far, one of the most uncertain elements that will emerge will be changing consumer behavioral patterns. With reduced incomes leading to reduced purchasing power, we're already seeing a shift away from brand preference to price and value-driven consumption patterns. E-commerce will most likely spike. Technology will be a key driving factor in any business. Seeing an emergence of a new normal? Are we seeing new business paradigms being established? Most likely, yes. And will we see a new world order emerging? Most likely, yes. And we believe that India, our country, will have to play a very big role in the new world order. So, now that we have a sense of the characteristics of the post-pandemic phase, we believe that this period will consist of three distinct phases. The survival phase, which should last for 2 years, the revival phase, which should last for 3 years, and the prosperity phase, which should last for 5 years. During the survival phase, businesses will have to act fast to deal with an ever changing scenario. There may be multiple phases to the pandemic, and we may see intermittent lockdowns. Consumer behavior patterns will continue to evolve, and businesses must be ready to readjust, readapt, and realign speedily. It will be important to be ahead of the curve. During the revival phase, businesses will build strength, and once this phase is ended, the prosperity phase will see businesses touch new heights of success. Our team at Indusgenie has created a business strategy called the SRP 235 made specially for you. Survive, revive, prosper over 2 years, 3 years, and 5 years. This SRP 235 plan consists of 52 cue cards, much like a pack of cards. These are 52 action points that must be implemented during the 235 phase. Of these 52 action points, 26 action points must be implemented during the survival phase. This is a survival strategy. The revival strategy and the prosperity strategy will be navigated or implemented by using 13 action points each. This presentation covers the first strategy only, the survival strategy. These are the 26 action points or mantras, as we call them, that should be followed by you in the first 24 months post-COVID. And remember this motto, survival of the fastest. You will have to play all your aces during this period. And what are these aces? The first ace, ace number one, conserve cash. Liquidity will be key to survival. Keep your money in the bank. Make your rupee last longer and make it give you maximum value. Ace number two, maximize revenues. Look for innovative ways to increase revenue share in an uncertain post-COVID world. Ace number three, optimize costs. A rupee saved is a rupee earned. Do more with less should be your mantra. Ace number four, automation and robotics. In a post-COVID world, with social distancing becoming the norm, businesses will have to gear up for the next round of automation and artificial intelligence. Now, let us take a deep dive into each of these action points and see what the other cards we need to play. Ace number one, conserve cash. This will be supported by the following touch points: accounts receivable, inventories, accounts payable, capex and non-core investments, debt restructure, and equity augmentation. Let us examine each of these in detail. Accounts receivable. Look at each of your accounts receivable closely and ensure speedy and full recovery. Money received now is worth its weight in gold. Consider cash discounts, but do manage the expectation of your customer. Never forget that customer is king. And we strongly advise you to avoid litigation. Negotiated settlements are always a good option. So put on your best diplomatic hat, go and negotiate and collect your dues. Inventories. Churn your inventory faster. Convert inventory into cash as fast as you can. Look at your slow moving inventory. Dispose it off even if you have to offer discounts. Remember, you are starting operations after a gap of a few months. So You may have expired inventory. Identify this expired inventory and take it out of the system so that you do not get into a legal mess. Also identify obsolete stocks and dispose them off. There is a carrying cost to obsolescence which you must minimize. And do put in place preservation and maintenance processes for the stock that you will have to carry for a longer time because of your reduced scale of operations. And this brings us to accounts payable. This will be a very prime function during the survival phase. You may have very large corporate vendors who you would want to reach out to negotiate extended credit periods. Manage your vendor well. Go and speak with them and ask for cash discounts. Vendors would be happy to settle for less if you were to put money on the table. Make your rupee walk that extra mile for you. And remember, avoid litigation. And do remember that if you have MSME vendors, you must take extra care of them. They need your support at this time. Be sensitive to their needs and support them. This brings us to the review of capital expenditure and investments. Our advice: defer all new capex, review all ongoing capex. If new capex is absolutely essential, go ahead and do it. Ongoing capex, examine every project afresh, complete those projects which are absolutely essential, put on hold those projects which are not. And do you have money locked up in unproductive assets like unused land, unused building, non functional plant and machinery? If the answer to that is yes, make all efforts to dispose these off. Remember, a rupee in the bank is worth two in the bush. And if you have non core investments, do not think twice before disposing these off. Be liquid. This brings us to another key element of conserving cash, and that is debt restructuring. Please review all your existing debt arrangements, and if you have to restructure them, go ahead and talk to your bankers. Explain your survival plan. Your bankers are your partners. Take them into confidence. Give them confidence about your ability to survive. Ask them for help. Create a working capital backup to tide you through the survival phase, and also rationalize interest costs, because this is one of the major costs that you incur during a new project phase. So talk to your bankers, rationalize your debt costs, rationalize your debt. Augmenting your equity will also be a key component of your cash management during the survival phase. Talk to your existing investors. Ask them to contribute to your funding needs. Of course, you must not compromise on your valuations, and you must be cautious about equity dilution. If raising tier 1 capital looks difficult, raise tier 2 capital. And above all, you may consider getting in strategic partners. In order to survive, this may be the right time to forge partnerships with stronger businesses. This brings us to ace number two: maximize revenues. And what are the touch points that you need to take care of whilst playing this card? Reassess your markets, redesign product and product mix, redefine the customer profile, and reconsider pricing and discount policies. You will have to take a completely new approach to understand where your markets really are. Changing demand patterns and government regulations on movement of goods and people will greatly impact your understanding of the markets. There may be a sustained clampdown on the movement of not only goods but also of people across state borders and across country borders. Your markets may have been across international and domestic territories. It is expected that domestic markets may open up before international markets. Within domestic markets, some states may open up much ahead of others. You will have to reassess where your markets really are in the short run. And with the new markets emerging, technology and social media will play a very big role in market determination. E-commerce is here to stay. You will have to have an online presence and make your products e-commerce compatible. Please optimize your e-commerce capabilities. This brings us to product and product mix. Is your product still relevant in the post-COVID market? Do you need a short-term strategy to survive? We have heard stories of alcohol manufacturers converting their facilities to manufacture hand sanitizers. We also know how electronics and electrical product assembling companies have converted to manufacturing personal protective equipment just to stay in business. You will have to think out of the box. Relook at your products. Is a makeover required? Spend time and money on innovation and R&D to meet new market needs. And take a close look at product bundling. A case in point is garment manufacturers also making face masks to color coordinate and match their shirts along with masks. You will have to create opportunities out of this crisis. And last but not the least, do not fail to look at your raw material supply chain. You may have a fantastic product, but if the raw material supply chain has been disrupted due to cross-border restrictions, you will have to look for alternative supply sources, which may then lead to logistical and cost implications. This now brings us to the drastically changing customer profile. As it is famously said, without a customer, you are irrelevant. No customer means no revenues. You must be able to track customer behavioral patterns on a virtually real time basis. Buying patterns are already showing a shift away from brand preferences to value proposition, prompted largely by reduced purchasing power. Private labels may therefore gain in the short run. Another important factor to consider is your physical proximity to your customer. With continued restrictions on movement of goods and people, customer buying patterns will undergo a change in the short run, and online visibility will be a must if you have to reach your customer. Also, there may be new expectations of the customer that will have to be tracked and managed. Hygiene may be of renewed concern to the customer. There may be a need to evidence your hygiene preparedness through external certifications. So please be prepared for this. In a post-COVID scenario, it will be necessary to get your customer back through proper pricing and discount policies. But wait, will you do this at any cost? What cost is considered appropriate? History has shown that post Black Swan events, businesses tend to go overboard in offering discounts to get customers back. But in a highly price elastic market, this policy boomerangs later when discounts are sought to be withdrawn, since customers now expect these discounts as the new normal. So do not act in haste. Make your short term policies dovetail into your long term policies. So this now brings us to the elephant in the room. Ace number three, optimize costs. And what are the touch points over here? Production processes, energy costs, procurement, inventory planning, storage, HR rationalization, payroll structures, work from home, infrastructure, long-term leases, corporate overheads, and operations overheads. Let us now look at each of these. Production processes. With social distancing becoming the norm, it is expected that new SOPs will have to be put in place in factories and offices. This will have radical change at the workplace. This will also lead to a reconfiguration of plant and machinery and office layouts and can be potentially disruptive. This will also impact capacity utilization with a resultant impact on product costing and pricing. This is also the time when businesses will have to take a long and close look at automation and robotics. Energy costs are one of the most significant cost items in most companies. These will have to be rationalized based on revised production processes. Sensor-based controls may also be used to effectively manage energy consumption. Use energy efficiency equipment wherever possible and make the most use of renewable energy. If necessary, invest in renewable energy equipment. This brings us to one of the key components of optimizing costs, and that is procurement. The entire supply chain may have been disrupted in the post-COVID phase. Take a fresh look at our entire supply chain management. You may have to have vendors closer to you than before due to restrictions on movement of goods and people. The order frequency and therefore the order size will also need to be redetermined, keeping in mind logistical challenges. And you may have to consider a short-term trade-off between price and quantity. Should you order more at a lower price or order less at a higher price? With demand patterns changing constantly, it might make more sense to order less at a higher price in the short run. An offshoot of procurement is inventory planning. With a possible reduction in the frequency of delivery schedules, the just-in-time inventory policy may no longer be relevant. Cross-border restrictions on movement of people and goods could lead to larger order sizes. This, in turn, will lead to the need for scalable storage facilities. And then, of course, the need to preserve and maintain the inventory will continue to exist given larger cycles. An offshoot of the new inventory plan will be the need to relook at your storage facilities. You may need to expand this in the short run based on frequency of deliveries. Climate control storage may also be required in case you have to have larger quantities of perishables. Multi-locational storage facilities may also be considered, especially if vendors are not in close proximity. Most importantly, outsource this requirement as much as possible. Do not make long-term investments in facilities that may be required only in the short run. And this, my friends, brings us to the sensitive issue of HR rationalization. The motto here should be do more with less. You will have to rationalize your workforce based on demand forecasts. However, do remember that you have a social obligation to fulfill. You should aim to protect the economically weaker segment of your workforce. Keep them engaged so that they may survive this critical phase. If certain functions are becoming redundant, offer to reskill the displaced employees and then redeploy them. So reskilling and redeployment should be taken up in a very planned and systematic manner. Right sizing your middle and top management is also very critical. But do remember that you have built a talent pool in your company over a long period of time, and you do not want to squander away your human capital for short term gains. So do rationalize, but rationalize wisely. Along with HR rationalization, you will need to review your payroll. Try and reduce the fixed costs and increase the variable component wherever possible. It will be necessary for you to realign your payroll costs to match the demand forecast, and therefore it may become necessary to negotiate with your employees for a deferment of salaries. However, this may come with a rider to reinstate the wages during better times. Convince the employees that the sacrifice that they will make now will lead to a better future and that they will be compensated later. Think of out of the box. Create a wage reinstatement fund. Ensure that you retain your talent pool because this is what you have built over a very long period of time and you do not want to squander it away for short term gains. Working from home will be the new normal. You will have to define processes to monitor employees who are working remotely from home, and you will have to provide technology to all your employees, wherever they may be, to become efficient in working from home. Since all employees who are working from home will be grappling with a new way of coexisting, there are many challenges that will crop up, including mental health issues. There will be a constant need to motivate and handhold your employees to guide them through this phase. With new production processes in place and work from home becoming the new norm, a detailed review of all your infrastructural facilities will be called for. Review all infra costs like offices, vehicles, IT infra, IT security. Specifically, review the IT infra costs. You may have set up extensive facilities in offices which may now be redundant. Eliminate duplicate costs and optimize outsourcing. A lot of businesses enter into long term leases for building and plant and machinery. These leases will need to be reviewed in a post COVID phase. However, do take proper legal advice. You may wish to negotiate new terms in a post COVID environment. It would be best to sit with the counterparty and decide on the way forward. You may wish to explore possibilities of termination and the consequences thereof. You may also wish to sublease the asset to reduce your costs. Closely examine the possibility of subleasing. As companies grow and prosper, one of the main areas they spend on is corporate overheads. Ask yourself, are you top heavy? Remember the motto, do more with less. Take a multifunctional approach. For example, you may have separate HODs for finance, admin, and HR. Ask yourself, is this necessary? Can all these functions be bundled into one function to operate under one HOD? And of course, look at salary structures, reduce the fixed element, increase the variable structure as much as is possible. There will be a need to take a fresh look at all operational overheads. In a new post COVID environment, a lot of overheads may become redundant. Cut these to size. Right size your overheads, outsource as much as possible, and do not make any long term commitments for overheads. This brings us to the fourth and final is automation and robotics. Social distancing will make it necessary for all companies to take a long-term view of artificial intelligence and introducing robotics into the system. Do a cost-benefit analysis, take a deep dive, do not take long-term decisions in a knee-jerk manner. Take expert advice. India has the best engineering talent in the world. A couple of things that can be looked at are robotic process automation and Internet of Things. This brings us to the end of the PowerPoint presentation. I do hope that it was time well spent for you, that you found it useful. If you would like to reach out to us, nikhil@indusgenie.com, ankit.mehta at indusgenie.com, write into us. We will come back to you very quickly. We wish you Godspeed. Our prayers are with you. Our good wishes are with you as you get back to work after the lockdown, hopefully on 3rd, 4th May. We hope normalcy returns as soon as possible. And we hope this great country of ours, India, becomes a very, very big economy going forward. We are here to help. Call us, write to us anytime. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Jai Hind. This presentation was made by Indusgenie Advisors LLP. You may write into us at nikhil@indusgenie.com or ankit.mehta@indusgenie.com. Thank you.